Hey guys, so in this lecture, in fact in these two lectures, we'll be seeing conditional statements. So let's go and see what the conditional statements are. So conditional statements are used to perform different actions based on different conditions. Very often when you write code, you want to perform different actions for different decisions. You can use conditional statements in your code to do this. In JavaScript, we have the following 4 conditional statements that you can use. So we have an if condition. What this says is, if the condition is true, which means it returns a true, like a boolean true, then a block of code will be executed. The other one is an else, which actually is a part of if and then else. So if the condition is not met, in other scenarios execute the else. We already saw this example in the previous conditional operators lecture. Similarly, we have something called as if, else if. What this will say is, if the first condition is not met, check for the second condition, and if the second condition is not met, the else if can continue any number of times. But there is a better operator that we can use if we have to use if, else if many times. There's an operator called as a switch. What switch does is, switch will check many alternative decisions or values, and whichever value is met, let's say if you have numbers 1 to 10, switch will check for number 1 to 10 that is passed, and based on different number, it will execute a different block of statements. So that was about the conditional statements that are possible in JavaScript. Let's quickly dig deep and see what if statements are used as. So if is always a format of this condition and then execute code. Block of code to be executed. So that's your if condition. Let me just make this a block comment so it's easier. Okay, so that's your if condition. Let's try to put it to use with a very simple example. If r is less than 18, then console.log and say good day, which means if it is before 6 o'clock, the answer would be good day. Let's try to close this, run the console and see. And let's call this variable r is equals to, let's say 10. It's 10 in the morning. So let's run this. It'll be good day. What if we change this to 8 in the evening? And nothing will happen. As many times you run, nothing will happen. But we don't want that to happen. We want to say good night when something, doesn't work. So in that case, we can make use of an else condition. So what else condition does is it gives you an option to write another block of code within these parameters. So else, and then here I can say console.log and say good night. Easy peasy, right? So if it is less than 18, then good day. If it is greater than that, it's good night. Now what if I want to have multiple conditions? Let's say I want to have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and then a good night. In that scenario, I can use something called as an else if statement. And else if works, let me just quickly copy this and say here, if else if will be something like this. The only difference is it will have another condition. So else condition 1, else if condition 2, and so on and so forth. You can have many more conditions, but I'll just give you a 3 condition statement so that you understand that you can have many things. Block of code to be executed. Let's copy this, paste it here, paste it here. So that's the block of statements that you can execute when you want to use an if-else if statement. Let's put this to use. So let's copy the same example and let's put it here. So if r is less than 10, it's a good morning. else if. So if the first condition is not met, it will go to the second condition. Make sure that you understand that this will be in a sequential manner. So if, let's say, r is less than 3, it is good afternoon. Now if I mention here r is less, not 3, actually it should have been 15 because we are following that 24-hour format. So if r is less than, let's say, 18, it's evening. And if r is, everything else is not met, it will say else, good night. Now let's run this and see. The answer is good night in both scenarios because the value of r is 20. Let's change that. Let's copy this down here, reassign the value of r to, let's say, 8 o'clock in the morning. And the answer would be good morning. What if it's noon? It has to be afternoon. Now what is it if in evening? In the evening it's like 4 o'clock. In that case, evening. And so on and so forth. Now what will happen if I give else if condition before this? So instead of having it executed in this fashion, I execute it in this fashion, which means I check for 18 first. In this scenario, it will check for this condition, then this, and then this. So make sure that you have your conditions in the right order. Otherwise, it may cause problems at times. So that was if else, and else if statements for you. So you can practice more and see if you have any questions. I'll see you in the next class where we'll cover the switch case statement.